no coffee no year. Nanamo, Maganimo, Mamma to hear Mania, Makawa year away. Nanamo, Maganimo, Mamma to be a binabo, Makawa bin a mambo. Nanamo, Maganimo, Mama to hear Mania, Makawa year away. Manamo, Mabiranimo, Pango, Mama to be a binabo, Makawa bin a mambo. Ah, Lord, you've come through for me. Manamo, Maganimo, Mama to hear Mania, Makawa year away. Manamo, Bongo, Moganimo, Mama to be a binabo, Makawa bin a mambo. I wouldn't Makawana, Magona never would. Yahweh got no one who offer Canugon, Babble tree, much on my ball. I wouldn't Macagona, Margon, Sour Qua. Yahweh got no one who offer Canugon, Babble tree, much on my ball. A bong of think that I owe my pen away. Upon a thing that I nothing away. Manamo, Maganimo, Mama to hear Mania, Makawa year away. Manamo, Maganimo, Mama to be a binabo. Makawa bin a mambo. I wanna Makazanga, Mapoman young Sawakwa. Yahweh got no one who offer Kanazanga, Mabuchi, Muchamabo. I wanna Makazanga, Mapoman young and I will be. Yahweh got no one who offer Kanazanga, Mabuchi, Muchamabo. I wanna Makazanga. Mazana would be Yahweh got one of the Kanazanga, Mabuchi, Machamabo. Oh, Bonga think that I got in. Where woman, Mabuchi, Machamane. Oh, a Bonga thing that I know me. Where woman. Babuchi, Machamane. We are the one woman. Babuchi, Machamane. Boom, I want you a career. I was in a winning Bruzumana. My Panamian. But you can't sing him a bird upon the chim. You can't sing him a bird upon the chim. Come your cover the sang the bird upon the chim. Manamo, Mawalanimo, Mamma to hear Mamia, Makawa year away. Manamo, Maganimo, Mamma to be a binabo. Makawa bin a mambo. A bong of think that I owe, my pen away. A bong of think that I
My fellow people, this is Dr. Chowayaba. Happy Sunday, happy new month. There will be no hiding place for those who attempt to harm Ambazonia. For more than 130 years, we have been shipped and placed under one colonial oppressive system. And the most people who have allowed those systems to survive have been our own people. The past 7 years has shown the best of us and the worst of us. One of the first struggles where traitors are in plain sight, social media everywhere, taking pride when our soldiers are killed, when villages are burned. Blinded by their hate for individuals, for movements, they will do everything to harm Ambazonia. They feel so justified that they leave evidence in audios, in videos. They take pride in those actions. In the evenings, they take a bottle of beer, sit and watch social media reaction on their treachery in the morning. If there is any lesson that we have learned in the past 7 years, even in the past more than 30 years in which I have been involved in this struggle, is that for all those who have attempted to harm and betray Ambazonia, they've lived and died in misery. They have not been successful to silence the Ambazonian voice, to destroy the innate passion by our people to free themselves from the tyranny of Cameroun. The idea that our mistakes, our shortcomings and limitations must be a justification for the collective betrayal of our people, that idea should be embraced and celebrated, is a fantasy in the heads of people who have not studied history. We are humans. Anyone who has studied wars will come to the conclusion Ambazonian soldiers have been the people, the soldiers who have respected international humanitarian law more than any other group of soldiers. Bring the Liberians, bring the Sierra Leoneans, go to the cartels in Cambodia, go to Colombia. You cannot compare. Look at the harm that has been brought to bear on us by Cameroun in the past 7 years. Villages that have been burnt, massacres, countless massacres, children killed, Mami Happy burnt in the house, entire Kwakwa razed to the ground, villages in Manu burnt, Pinin massacre, Balinyonga massacre, Santa massacre. They are disappearing young men. Bodies are floating in rivers. Churches in Lebialem, the palace, set alight in broad daylight. Kale, kidnapping for ransom, rendition, all forms of crime against our people for their standing up for our country. Because we have a microphone and they have a megaphone, they are so loud to subdue our voice, to mask our pain. And the relay voices have been Ambazonians, relaying these voices because of hate, because of anger, because of a sense of entitlement, because of a sense of loss of an era of glory. They will do everything to sow seed of confusion. They will do everything to undermine sovereignty projects. They will do everything to attack the integrity of the Ambazonian struggle until they take charge. If the last 7 years has been a lesson to each and every one of us, it's that for all those who've spoken the loudest, attacked the most, 50% of them have retreated into their comfort zones and pursuing their own agenda of life as though Ambazonia never existed. But there is a price we will all pay for the ability that we have shown against our own people. Nothing on earth, nothing will stop Ambazonia from being a free, independent state. Nothing. Not Cameroun and its allies, not traitors, not spies. Nothing on earth will stop us against a people who cannot show even compassion and empathy for themselves, who cannot rise up against the tyranny that has hijacked their own country. I am proud to be an Ambazonian, and I carry it as a badge of honor. Not only to have been born an Ambazonian, but to have been part of a people who've risen up from nowhere, no training, no support, nothing, to carry arms and to reshape their own destiny against all odds. Massacres have not stopped them. Genocide has not stopped them. Kidnapping, rendition, imprisonment, torture, rape has not stopped them. For the past 8 years, our resilience alone should be something that we should take with pride. We are not devils. If we were, there will be no single Cameroonian living in Ambazonia for all the crimes that these people have committed. There will be no single one of them. Our values of tolerance, compromise, and justice for all is what anchors our struggle. And I ask our people, wherever you are, wear Ambazonia as a badge of honor and be strong and be faithful to Ambazonia.
My fellow people, I said I was going to address you today. We have been experiencing a lot of attacks on our civilian population in Bamenda this day. We are getting reports of over 5 Ambazonian civilians killed by very angry Cameroon forces. We are also getting report of many bike riders having been arrested. We are also getting report of many bikes having been destroyed. There are ghost towns in certain areas in Bamenda, especially City Chemist Roundabout and T Junction. Today I asked the head of the Human Rights and Humanitarian Services, Comrade Akoson, to issue an urgent alert to the international system to make them aware of the possibility of widespread violence on our civilian population. So while our people are taking action against the occupation, we have an obligation to ensure that we use our presence out here to notify different institutions and partners of what is going on in our homeland, especially actions by the enemy that threatens the lives of our civilian population. And so we are monitoring the situation, and we will be documenting what is going on, and we will report that to the Ambazonian people. And where action is needed, we will bring that to the attention of those concerned. I know we are all very skeptical about the readiness of the international community to move against Cameroon, and for good reasons. We've also just been notified today about a visit by a member of the, I think, UN Human Rights Council, invited to Yaoundé to discuss issues of human rights. And we are aware that Ambazonia was also discussed. I have reacted to the report that was issued today, and I would like to repeat my reaction here. There is an ongoing genocide in Ambazonia. There are crimes against humanity that have been well documented. There are crimes of war. There are crimes of aggression. All of these crimes are well documented. There have been dozens of incidences of systematic killing of civilians, which have been described as massacres. We are aware of the Balinyonga massacre, the Pinyin massacre, the Ngabo massacre. All of these crimes are well documented, and this should have gotten the international community to act, or at least the prosecutor of the ICC has powers, I think, under Article 15 of the Statute of the ICC. Once these crimes are brought to his attention, to do further investigation and to ascertain if the statutes have been violated by a member state or a non-member state. They have all failed to take their responsibility in the face of gross violations of international humanitarian law. And it baffles me why a UN official dealing with international human rights law should be concerned at this particular moment with what is going on. And I think we are aware that Cameroon is a very dodgy state. We are aware that each time Cameroon feels it is under the spotlight, it creates these distractions by inviting international organizations or members of the international community. We've seen that with Commonwealth, Francophonie, African Union, other UN and African Union agencies, including the European Union. It does this to show its good faith in adhering to its obligations under international human rights and international humanitarian law. This is a classic strategy of the criminal presenting itself into a chamber. And they have always engaged in discussions, showing their willingness to hold those accountable, hold those responsible accountable. They have always manipulated the international system by being willing to respect, obligations to which they are supposed to respect. And we've documented this in history. These are classic authoritarian systems that decide to sign treaties, but with the desire never to respect the premise of those treaties. And Cameroon is a classic example of an authoritarian state that has engaged in systematic torture, a massive violation of human rights, but has always presented itself for international scrutiny. And this is what has happened in the past few years. So we dismiss all of these charade that are continuously being played by Cameroon with the support of the international system. War crimes have been committed by Cameroon. Crimes against humanity have been committed by Cameroon. Crimes that meet the minimum threshold of crimes that should be looked into by the ICC. And even though Cameroon is not a signatory, they have referral clauses either by the UN Security Council, member state, or even powers by the prosecutor himself. They have failed woefully to invoke these powers to look into the crimes that Cameroon has committed. And Cameroon has believed very strongly that its past strategies, supported by France, supported by other UN member states, is going to get it off the hook. So what has happened in the past few days has been the continuation of the strategy of distraction that Cameroon continuously engage in, with the hope that the international community is simply going to see its goodwill as enough reason to leave them alone. But we have seen today continuous actions by Cameroon against our civilian population, systematic torture, destruction of properties, deliberate attack on civilian population, destruction of properties of civilian population. These are war crimes. Mass incarceration, subjecting Ambazonians to situations that violate their human dignity, deliberate impunity in the way that our prisoners are treated. These are crimes against humanity. Burning of villages, burning of homes. These are war crimes. And so we are baffled, simply bewildered, why the international system continues to allow Cameroon to escape accountability. And that's why I think in 2002, the former UN Secretary General instituted the protection of civilians in times of conflict. And it was touted as an instrument that would ensure that a repeat of Rwanda never happens. That's why we have the R2P that was also instituted post-Rwanda, to ensure that early warning systems are in place to alert the international system on possible crimes of genocide or even crimes against humanity and war crimes that may be the foundation of a crime of genocide. None of these instruments have been invoked. Other methods that sometimes have been used to reduce the, kind of tension that may lead to crimes being committed, Cameroon has never shown interest. Those are sometimes bilateral discussions between conflict parties to resolve conflict issues or to mitigate the effect of conflict issues. Cameroon has not been interested. Holistic solutions like negotiations that should continuously build good faith between conflict parties as to lay the foundation for resolving the conflict, Cameroon has not been interested. Cameroon has been interested in violence in a systematic manner as a matter of policy. Cameroon has been interested in propaganda as a tool of defeating enemies. It has been interested in bribery and corruption as a tool of getting enemies to surrender. And it has been interested in probing and coercing, even threatening and blackmailing members of the international community as a tool of keeping them away from what it deems as its exclusive preserve to deal with. This is a conflict that has led to massive humanitarian crisis that has been well documented by the Norwegian Refugee Council and other reputable international organizations. It is a conflict that has led to mass movement of people across international borders that has affected security and internal dynamics of other countries. And that is also shown by the TPS that is instituted by the United States to make sure Ambazonians can receive temporal protection. So there are all signs to show that this conflict has gone beyond the remit of Cameroon, not only because it has been incapable, but because it has been unwilling to deal with the conflict. It's not a conflict that is 7 years old. It's a conflict that has been going on for more than 60 years. And there have been different episodes, different stages, different periods of escalation that has led to massive violation of human rights. No one has ever been held accountable. Every day, Ambazonians are treated almost like a conquered people. They are treated with impunity and disdain. And all the signs of genocide are there. We have listened to the audios that are emanating from Bamenda. You listen to the language. You listen to the disgust because of 2 to 3 enemy forces that are killed. Now, just imagine you are going to wipe out 50 Cameroon forces. What will be the reaction of these people? They are even calling Ambazonians who are traitors working with them. They are calling them traitors. They are calling them collaborators. These are all signs that should tell the international community that this is a powdered cake that is waiting to explode and engulf an entire region. And so, my fellow people, we are dealing with peoples and a system that first has not recognized our humanity. And that is why Cameroon has never been interested in any solutions. Because for Cameroon, a solution would mean recognizing that Ambazonians are first humans. When they talk of human rights, it is because of the respect of the fact that we are humans. If you refuse to respect the humanity of people, then you cannot ascribe to those people any rights. The denial by Cameroon of the fact that we are equal human beings with the agencies to enjoy all the rights like all other humans has been a problem. That is why any little crisis has been treated as existential to Cameroon. Every little protest has been treated with utmost brutality. Teachers are kidnapped, tortured, dumped into jail. Lawyers are treated with scorn and disdain, dumped into jail. Civilians are picked up and chained in jail and they die in their bed. Not a word. Because they know they are dealing with animals. They know they are dealing with sugar that can be dissolved. They know they are dealing with le biafran. They know they are dealing with les anglo. They know they are dealing with noso. We have been described with using all forms of derogatory adjectives. Denied the right to even be described as a people with rights. They see us as agents with obligations, facilitators of their expansionist strategy to take over our country, turn us into their slaves, and to make sure that any resistance to that is dealt with utmost brutality. And this has been the reason why most Ambazonians think giving up will quiet the enemy. That is the reason why for the past 60 years, most leaders, our citizens, have been cowed to the point where their survival has been the utmost reason why surrender has been what is necessary. Because Cameroon has not blinked on any issue, education, law, civil society issues. It has not blinked. Everything that we have done, asking even for trash in our city to be removed by companies within Ambazonia, I explain these things not to lecture you on what you already know. I explain these things for you to understand of the enormity of the task that is in our hands to solve. And why the shortcuts that we have taught would please Cameroun to regard us as subservient enough to deserve some of our own God-given rights. That's not what. No matter how you sing their anthem, worship their flag, march on the 11th of February, on the 20th of May, Cameroun has never been pleased. Anytime there has been political agitation, whether on the Ambazonian issue, demanding even discussions on how to resolve the issue of coexistence, Cameroun has not been willing. And leaders, individuals have thought, all right, let's succumb. Some have succumbed. What happened? What happened to their own dignity? We saw how John Fundi was treated. We saw how Karina Tumi was treated. Not even those who have betrayed us have been treated with respect. The international community has continued to play to the drum beats of Yaoundé. And if we give up, if we decide to take the shortcut, the next generation will inherit a problem we could have stood firm to resolve. Every time our people are killed, rather than blame the enemy that occupied our land and is burning our villages, some of you rise up to blame those who have stood firm, as if those who gave up before brought any reward. Every time we have suffered death in the hands of the enemy, our soldiers have fallen. Instead of coming together, mobilizing, and making sure those who are still fighting have the necessary resources to fight, we start screaming on social media. We start attacking each other. Some even go on their knees, begging a state that abrogated a federalism that it imposed to give them federalism, as though the provinces or the regions or the special status that the state has given, it has even respected the premise of those arrangements. Why do I say all of these things? What happened yesterday is a testament of the resilience of our people. You see only a microcosm of the sacrifices that our people make. 2 days ago, I was 3 days or 4 days ago, we lost a soldier. Self-inflicted injuries. He took his rifle, and in manipulating the rifle, he shot his leg and punctured an artery and bled to death. The soldier was buried yesterday morning. I was sitting and trying to preside over the burial. In the evening, I had a meeting with the finance department. As we were in the meeting, information started streaming in about gunshots in Bamenda. And I stepped out of the meeting without even telling the people of the Department of Finance that I'm stepping out, because I was worried. I thought maybe our forces have been ambushed or attacked. And I immediately reached out to all the commanders. And I was informed they had successfully taken out enemy patrol at the heart of Commercial Avenue. They buried a soldier in the morning, and in the evening, they were out. What do you define as bravery? What do you term resilience? It is not 3 weeks that they lost 5 men. That is the kind of attitude that if the Funchas had, we will not be here today. That's the kind of attitude if the John Frundis, those who blinked in the face of Cameroon's manipulation threats, if they had an iota of that, we will not be here today. And if we will not be in the same position in the future, all of us must adopt the no blinking, no compromise, no retreat attitude. And look at shortcomings as a way of making us look at our shortfalls and to build up our capacity. My people, we are brave. No people subjected to this level of impunity and banality of evil have been able to resist this long on their own. The South Africans had all the support they could muster across the globe. States, primary school students, and you were one of them. We have been on our own. And if in 2024, with all those who are fallen, the pain we are going through, we are still able to constitute this level of resistance and to get the enemy to panic and to go on a tirade. Just imagine we are able to make 10% investment. We will not only free ourselves, we will free Cameroonians from the clutches of the tyranny of the BR regime. And so today, I ask you never to look back. And if you look forward, invest in Ambazonia. That is the most reliable investment you will ever make in your life. As I said in my audio yesterday, the house you live in may be owned by your neighbors, even by your enemies. The cars you drive might never be in existence. Where your grandparents are buried, you have no idea. You don't possibly even remember their faces. Where your great-grand-aunties lived, you have no idea. That is how we may all disappear without trace. The only trace we will leave, as the Americans always talk about the founding fathers, the foundation of American independence, are the documents their forebears left, the values embedded in those documents, those who stood valiantly to defend the ideals of freedom. None of us will ever know where Patrice Lumumba lives. We watched the other day the house of Nkrumah Nkrumah, derelict form, but his name is immortal. His work unchallenged. I ask you tonight, all of you, to commit to thank the Bamenda Brigade, all the missions of the Ambazonian Governing Council, all Ambazonians who today feel proud that they have been uplifted by the daring of our forces. Make sure you replenish them generously. they will be proud that those 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 miles away, we stand with them in their period of glory, as we have always stood with them when they mourn. Our homeland is the only place we have. We shall not surrender it to an enemy that has no respect for us, that has never explored and exploited our resources and reciprocated with any development, even in hospitals or schools. An enemy that kidnaps our compatriots, ship them to its capital, and put them in situations of squalor. This is not the enemy to make any compromise with. They are too weak. If we step up our game, we'll be on time with our rendezvous with freedom. God bless you all.
Yes, Ambazonian, my motherland, my only land of freedom and peace, a land so accommodating, a land blessed with natural resources. My roots, my nation, till the world hears our cry and intervene. We will speak till our nation becomes a reality. Long live all the Ambazonians. Long live our fallen heroes who gave up their lives to save the future generation of Amazonia. Long live Ambazonia. Our hopes are alive. Peace.
We are not giving up. We are not giving up. Ambazonians, we are not giving up. We need freedom. We are not giving up. Ambazonians, we are not giving up.
fellow Ambazonians, all man a place day. Shishik no day. My apologies for coming on late. Today, I'm very grateful to address all of you. I know we had a long outing the other day during an interview with Chat Night. And I'm grateful that some of you step up the plate in the defense of our cause. As I wrote the day after, Ambazonia is the only place where, in times of a perilous crisis like ours, journalists claim to be neutral. And I wonder if between 1939 and 1945, if the BBC for 1 second could have been neutral. Or during Desert Storm, if you thought CNN could be neutral. We are living in difficult moments, and everybody seems to want to survive above the interests of the collective, and people have lost their sense of sacrifice because of so many years of colonial domination. But I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful, because the majority of Ambazonians, those who picked up arms, the lawyers and teachers who rose up, those in jail, refugees and IDPs who are still fighting wherever they are, and all of us recognize the danger in association with Cameroun. We recognize that Cameroun is like a Titanic that is going aground, and we either bail out or sink with Cameroun. And I think the Ambazonian people have made a firm decision and have made a firm commitment with freedom. And this is above a struggle simply for the notion of independence. As I have said repeatedly, we are faced with a barbaric regime that virtually has no respect for human life. We are faced with a system that has thrived on looting, on killings, on propaganda, and the perpetuation of everything that divides a people, impoverish them, and keeps them in servitude. And they have made it absolutely clear, if you do not succumb to their antics, you have three places. You are either in jail, or you are in exile, or you are in the grave. They have been very clear about it. Mr. Biya has constantly, during his outings, denigrated every group of people who have risen up with legitimate concerns about his rule, the policies of Cameroun, and their method of responding to the entreaties or demands for political, economic, or social change. And we have also been very clear. There will be no middle ground as far as dealing with Cameroun is concerned. I know people liken that to extremism. We don't want to compromise. As I said during my interview, we compromise with our land. We compromise with our political institutions. We compromise with our economic infrastructures. We compromise with our lives, our liberty. There's virtually nothing left we can offer. And so everybody must know this. It is not the Ambazonian people in the past 63 years that have refused compromise. It has been Cameroun from 1961. They have used all forms of machinations, intoxication, bribery and corruption, recruitment of thousands of Ambazonians, and turn them into traitors. I was reading a script from one of them today calling our country a Facebook republic. Amazonia is a tangible state with international borders that are treaty-based, recognized internationally. We are a people, not even on the basis of the Banjul outcome, by virtue of the mandate, the trusteeship, by virtue of the natural topographic features that reinforces our borders to give us the opportunity within our homeland to build a common language, a common system, a common lifestyle. We are a people. And so for anybody to think we are a product of some division of an entity called Cameroon, you are engaged in self-deception. And that self-deception is what is leading to Cameroon's self-destruction. We have to be very, very clear about our journey, because that is what we can use to explain our position. This journey has been a journey where all leaders have compromised, giving up everything with a wild hope that maybe their surrender or capitulation will win the admiration of Cameroon, and some compromises. Cameroon has been very clear. They've seen us as some form of a lost territory, which they are the mother state to reclaim. And they have been absolute, not in the past, even now, about the fact that we are enemies. We are slaves. And according to them, we have no right to ask for anything. Because after all, human rights are only assigned to humans. And because we are not considered humans, we do not have the opportunity to enjoy human rights or even civil rights. So my people, Cameroon has not only denied our right to exist, it has made it impossible for us to survive as individuals and as a people by the very destruction of the foundation of our economy. They made it impossible for us to trade, to develop, and to create wealth, which is necessary for our survival. By the very fact that they destroyed completely and took over our political institutions, they made it impossible for us to organize, to make laws, to protect, or to codify norms and values. And they knew from the beginning that the foundation of Ambazonia's strength lies in their education. And I'm not talking about some classroom education. In our upbringing, in our nurturing from our homes with our parents, we were tailored to tilt towards values of compromise, tolerance, community, hard work. They knew that even the destruction of our socio-economic and political institutions will still leave us okay through hard work. They then took over our educational institution, revised our history, determined the curriculum of education that we were supposed to have. The curriculum of education of every educational system is the most important barometer that you can use to measure economic development and growth. When your educational curriculum is designed by people who are bent on eliminating you from the face of the earth, you can expect the outcome of any education through that system to be worthless. And that's what most of us became. On the left, people line up on the road to exile. They decreed schools that they could never invest in. Our parents will invest in those schools. Ambazonian teachers struggled to get the kind of education that they needed to be able to educate the next generation. They were paid so badly. Teachers had to become farmers, bricklayers, taxi drivers just to survive. And sometimes the measure of the worth of a teacher was not about how many qualified students they produce. It was about how many students they failed. And nobody cared. Because why should they, considering how they are treated? Thousands of our people, after graduating from high school, went over to either Biafra land, Nigeria. A very few had the opportunity went United Kingdom, United States. Those who went to Cameroon became frustrated. We then went back on the street to demand for the creation of the University of Buea. It took lives and limbs to get that university. And they said they were going to teach us a lesson, since we had to compel them to decree a university. And in decreeing that university, they decreed the University of Ngaoundéré, I think Yaoundé 2, Maroa, and other places, so they can split the budget thing. And so Ambazonians ended up in a university where there were neither computers within a computer department, nor a lab within the science department. Everybody was struggling for certification rather than knowledge. Nobody understood the foundation that they needed to lay if they needed to be qualified professionally. And that's how the university has become what we call the glorious high school. We fought for the GCE board because students went to write exams. Exams were set in half-baked English and Pidgin, sometimes with French. Teachers fought, students fought for a board of education that can oversee the setting, marking, and validation of exams. When they surrendered, they put their cronies, and within a few years, they had hijacked the GCE board. At the legal front, the common law system that is very important in Ambazonia has been constantly undermined. The presumption of innocence, which is the foundation of the criminal justice system, totally destroyed. Every accused was already guilty. You had to be extorted to prove yourself. Their court systems was totally antithetical to the common law system. Political opponents were moved from one jurisdiction to the other, where they were passed through kangaroo trials, locked up incommunicado, subjected to torture, no proper legal representation, no financial support. We became hostages. Nobody could really provide an alternative. We had a wild dream that reforming Cameroon is possibly going to protect the Ambazonian rights to some form of internal self-determination. They organized elections where in urban areas they appointed government delegates to oversee elected mayors. In rural areas, DOs became the de facto mayors. They did everything to emasculate the Ambazonian people. As if that was not enough, even administrative districting, DOs took over. Mostly Cameroonian citizens. The few Ambazonians who became DOs had to succumb or be fired or be transferred to long distance places totally separated from their families. because they had no hope, they had to integrate and became part of the machinery of torture, fanning of intertribal wars, taking over of our land, selling those lands. They became the de facto chiefs. All the chiefs were custodians of our tradition, of our way of life, of the foundation of our being, held their position in abeyance to obeying the laws of Yaoundé, submitting themselves to the authority of the very butchers that have devastated their communities. The men in our chieftaincies and fondoms whom we revered became public laughingstocks as they bowed to colonial governors, colonial deals, became political appointees like the Anguafos. They rubbish the very essence of our being, made a mockery of the foundation of our lives that many generations before brave men had fought to secure. Cameroun declared his victory over us publicly and dared anyone who raised the finger. Those who tried met with immediate death. They knew France had their backing. There was no consequences. They knew they had recruited from amongst us millions of others. They knew the economic situation in Ambazonia had become so bad that millions had migrated into Cameroun and they will not bite the finger that supposedly fed them. They knew they had imprisoned, they had murdered the bravest of the bravest, and they had exiled others. That there was nobody left to challenge their violence, undermine their propaganda, and put them to shame. This is the arrogance of autocracies. And this is the foundation of the demise of all autocracies. My people, so if at any moment you have the feeling that maybe we are pushing so hard, maybe we are not making compromises, you should know we are coming from someplace called the Endelis, the Fonchas, the Joas, the Monas, and others who made meaningful compromises, ended up being humiliated. Some of you as old as half my age, if you happen to have been in Boya, you heard Pav Mona say, what kind of balok is this? You saw them travel to the United Nations to ask for help to undermine the very foundation they laid for coexistence. So it's not some stuff of our generation that we're concocting. I remember when we told Pa Tasang and the others, let's move straight, forget about this issue of trying to reform the educational system or the legal system. And they said, no, they can do it. What happened? Helicopter gunships. We all saw how lawyers were battered down in Boya, humiliated. And the very man who dared them sits in jail without any hope. No mercy, no pity. Their only crime, I'm not even talking about those who carry political baggage. I'm talking about teachers. I'm talking about not even teachers who taught in Amazonia, those who taught in Biafra, those who taught in Nigeria, whisked from their homes, separated from their children. The monster showed who is boss, took them by plane back to their capital. Demonstration of power, no mercy. And for 8 years, they've not only denied our existence, they have denied our humanity. They have burned thousands of villages. They have roasted children in broad daylight. No apologies. They've massacred young men As if that was not enough, they kill our guys, get their bodies and put them as trophies in the middle of the cities to send a strong warning to anyone who dare the master. That's what we are up against. And so you ask the question, do you want to surrender? Walk back through all the burnt villages, limping over the body of Mami Api, watching Baby Mata looking at you with a glaring disdain, walking over the bodies of all the fallen soldiers who fought so bravely for our country, back into the arms of the tyrants who laid bare our coast. Or you want to muster the courage, continue this journey that was started more than 130 years ago by the great Kuvalekenyes. Scale the highest mountains, swim across shark-infested rivers, knowing fully well that if you make it, there will be hope for millions of our people. Those who have died must not have died in vain. Those who've lost their liberties, separated from their families, wouldn't have done so in vain. Today, I come to talk to you about why we must muster that courage and keep going forward. And to let you understand some of the measures that we will institute will have some level of pain. We have to bear it. Some haven't even gotten the chance. They lost their lives. Think about the children of Ngabo. Think what happened to them between the moment their murderers showed up, the pain they felt. Think about you being a parent and having your kids killed on Valentine's Day. Think seriously like one of those parents, knowing fully well how painful their death must have been, but that the enemy had enough time to put the bodies together, poured fuel on them, lit a match, burned the bodies, stood by and made sure no parent could identify their child. That is Cameroun. And so for the measures we take and the disturbances that may create, that is far lower than the pain the parents of the Ngabo victims still feel up till this moment. My fellow people, national lockdown in the entire territory of Ambazonia begins tomorrow. It will run until the 23rd. Today, our normal country Sunday has gone very well, from Victoria right up to Bamenda. We have shown that we want independence. We want to be free from the nagging grip of Cameroun. And I ask each and every one of you to begin tomorrow with courage, with a big smile on your face, with a desire to sacrifice not only for the birth of our country, but in remembrance of all those who've given their lives. Just imagine how those in Kondengi got up today and saw the videos of the various cities and closed their eyes and said to themselves, "Thank God we have not been abandoned." Whatever you do in furtherance of our cause of freedom, you must know you are impacting the lives of those in jail in a very positive manner. You're giving hope to the mothers and fathers, the brothers and sisters who have lost their loved ones. We must vomit Cameroun. We must reject it in all its entirety. We must hate it. It has caused enough pain in us. And I know you ask, what's the alternative? We have presented the alternatives to you. And I'll take a few points in terms of education. Ambazonian education is skill-based and competency-based, as opposed to the rejected certificate-based indoctrination, morally depraved, and mass education system of French Cameroon. Ambazonian education focuses on individuals' holistic development to become creative problem solvers and world creators, as opposed to a system that is interested in mass production of unschooled graduates. Our education shall be officially provided even at homes. Homeschooling is part of our curriculum. Regulated schools, Ambazonian community schools, and virtually through online education. Every day, every time, and everywhere shall be used to teach our children, depending on their need and resources required. Thus, every minute, we will have a graduate from the Ambazonian school system who is ready from day one to positively transform himself or herself, impact their family, community, and country, Africa, and the world. This is the new orientation that the Ambazonian Educational Board is putting on the table. Learning is a continuous affair from birth to the end of time. Hence, we must stop narrowing it down to tie with the traditional obsolete system that betrays the very essence of education. On this note, I call on all of you, even those in exile, to log on to www.orionambazonia, one word, orionambazonia.com, to register for any course of study of your choice. Study at your pace, graduate, and you are done. Ambazonian communities should also meet under the leadership of the Ambazonian Transitional Authority, agree within their means, set up community schools, and run them following the Ambazonian curriculum of education, policies, and guidelines. Parents and guardians must not let their children get missing in the crowd. Thus, they are called upon to be the primary investors and masters of the quality and content of education that their children get at the table. Homeschooling will become a pillar of the educational system of Ambazonia, and we are putting in place with parents together the structures that will make this prevail. My fellow people, we have been trapped like prisoners for so many years that we know of just two opportunities: Cameroun or exile. We have never believed that we can create by ourselves something from scratch, work on it, perfect it, build it, and own it. All through the past 8 years, we have shown you when you thought it was impossible to create an army. With Changshus, Dengons, they have matured. They have grown of age. They are now so sophisticated that if you look back 8 years ago and you think of the arrogance of Yaoundé, you will never believe that we have the will or the means to attack, to undermine, and to humiliate Cameroun. Now, they believe they can defeat us through propaganda. They want to say our struggle is chaotic. So many people are dying, but they never tell you who is killing these people. Our people are suffering. Nobody explains to you who is the architect of the pain and suffering. As though you were stupid to know the looters, bandits, cartel bosses who ravaged our cause, looted Cameroon Bank, destroyed WADA, UNVDA, shut down Power Camp, closed Yoke Hydroelectricity Power Station, abandoned Victoria Deep Sea Port. They are the culprits. It's not the Ambazonian soldier, the man in the arena who is ready for victory or defeat, who is the source of your pain. The looters, the invaders, the anarchists. They are the ones who have imposed misery. We shall overcome as a people together, and we must stick together. God bless you all.
Yes, Ambazonia, my motherland, my only land of freedom and peace, a land so accommodating, a land blessed with natural resources. My roots, my nation, till the world hears our cry and intervene. We will speak till our nation becomes a reality. Long live all the Ambazonians. Long live our fallen heroes who gave up their lives to save the future generation of Amazonia. Long live Ambazonia. Our hopes are alive. Peace.
We are not giving up. We are not giving up. Ambazonians, we are not giving up. We need freedom. We are not giving up. Ambazonians, we are not giving up.
Welcome to ACN.
My fellow Ambazonians, this is the UK Parliament. This is Dr. Choayama. I want to make this short video. I'll capture a couple of important representations. This Parliament. This is where the history of many countries was defined in an irreversibly bad way. Until some generations rose up and said, you can't build a kingdom on the demise of nations. So this is where laws are made that affect people across the globe. But more importantly, I want to show you something. This guy. This is Muhammad Gandhi. This is Gandhi. It's a representation of some of the people who rose up and redefined the history not only of their people but of mankind. And then a few meters from Gandhi is the guy that we all know. This is him. You know this guy? Look at him. This is the guy who was jailed by white people. After 18 years in jail, they asked him to renounce violence in exchange for his liberty. He said no. His liberty is tied to the liberty of his people. Yeah, it's Nelson. Nelson. An embodiment of courage, resilience, and defiance against what was perceived more powerful than him and his time.
A lot of suits going over there.
I will take you across. I'm documenting these things for you to know sometimes how the world has been shaped by the courage of men and women who during their times were seen as extremists, were seen as unrepentant, and today they somehow embody the spirit of resilience against fascism, tyranny, deprivation, and even genocide. And here stands the master himself, without whom there might be no United Kingdom. There we go. That's it. 1940, when Hitler had already invaded Norway, was ravaging Europe. One of the chief weaver birds, Neville Chamberlain, resigned. King George asked Winston Churchill to take the realms of power as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. He did. His words, his stamina, resilience, defiance will forever shape the course of the war. And this is what we need. This is a defining moment in our history. And we need men and women of courage. Those who don't blink in the face of difficulties. Those who don't tuck tail and run in the face of difficulties. Those people who will confront evil and who will defy the odds in the interest of their people. Good day, my people. Good day from London. I hope everything is okay. Okay. All right. Let me do a bit of adjustment here for you guys. Okay, my fellow Ambazonians, thanks for waiting. I had a bit of technical issues to deal with. Thanks a lot for showing up and for tuning in. Today I have come to have a brief statement. I know my statements, though described as brief, are always very long because we always have a lot to talk about. But thank you for continuously believing in our struggle for freedom. Thank you for being resilient, patient, and understanding. Our struggle is one to bestow self-government to the Ambazonian people. For 60 years plus, Ambazonians have not been able to govern themselves. And the enemy state has constructed a pariah state over the nation of Ambazonia and handed power to looters, gangsters. It has created numerous cartels within our villages, our quarters, that it has used to legitimize a fraud, a gigantic fraud that has cost the lives of millions of Ambazonians, has turned the first democracy, a modern, vibrant society, into a chaotic bunch of mess. And we are grappling with what to do with this mess. And we have come to the conclusion, after more than 50 years of continuous effort, to find a common understanding of the approach of coexistence, governance, and governance philosophies, that it will be essential and incumbent on the Ambazonian people to fight their way in expelling Cameroun from our country. As I have said repeatedly, manipulation and deceit has been their key instrument. They have also used hunger, deliberate impoverishment of the Ambazonian people to create a dependency that would be very difficult to detach from them. And so every time Ambazonians have risen up, bribery and corruption has been used as a tool against any resistance. They have recruited from amongst us traitors and beneficiaries of the system of deprivation and exclusion to undermine our narrative, the credibility of our struggle, and the integrity of the actors who function on behalf of the Ambazonian people. We have put to an end this macabre system that has given us enough pain and disgrace. Fellow Ambazonians, war is a method of conflict resolution. It is a strategy. Most oftentimes, war is the last resort every people rely on to end a system of tyranny and a system that has imposed pain on them. Our track record to this historical reality is clear for everyone to see. The picking up of arms has come after several decades of painstaking efforts by our forebears to push Cameroon to a point of understanding, not only to see us as humans, but to allow us to govern ourselves, develop our societies, our capabilities, and to live a life worthy of dignity. Cameroon has responded to these entreaties with violence, brutality, and arrogance, believing very strongly that we were so subdued and deprived and depraved that it would be impossible for any single person or generation to rise up and disentangle themselves from the servitude that we had been placed under. And so war should never be seen, as it is being propagated by Cameroon, as some primary choice, and that there are alternative methods through which this conflict, which is a conflict of occupation, a conflict of deprivation, a conflict of violence, can be resolved. This manipulation is based on desperation by an arrogant enemy that believed it could wipe us out in 2 weeks. My fellow people, today, I want to let you know that you have defeated Cameroon. I remind you because you easily forget. You have a different sense of victory. I want to tell you, you have prevailed over the barbarians and the system it has imposed in your land. We chose armed resistance to be able to respond to the politics of violence and murder against Ambazonians. 7 years into this armed resistance, Ambazonian forces are standing, are controlling territory, have increased the cost of the military occupation of our country. Despite our loss, despite the killing of our top generals, we have designed a military command and control that could be resilient and overcome any attempt at decapitation. And from the killing of General Ivo, right down to General Efang, Alaji, Sargon, we have shown that the taking out of our top generals will not be the end of the armed resistance. My people, running a war is a very difficult endeavor. I am running a war using my cell phone for the past 7 years. I do not, like La République, have a command center. I do not have a budget. I do not have international partners from whom I can get money. I have not signed any military corporations with other countries. For 7 years, the command center of Ambazonian resistance has been a cell phone. And for what we have achieved, without support, without training, with all the hurdles placed in front of us, I can say to you people without any doubt that if you are still standing, if you are listening to me at this moment, it is because you have prevailed. It is up to you to own this victory. Occupation is political, it's not military. That takes me to the other strategies which we design. Economic sabotage. Occupation is predicated on economic extortion and exploitation. Through our efforts, we have been able to undermine the sacrilege, the almost wholesome extortion and broad daylight robbery of Ambazonia by Cameroun. We have put a dent on it. We haven't stopped it completely, but we have put a dent on it. We have, through armed resistance and organization, required those who do business in our land, those who have prevailed through extortion and exploitation, to pay taxes to Ambazonians. We have been able to curtail the level of foreign companies like we did in Mezam, where even a company that was picking trash from our street came from their side. We are working extremely very hard to compel other companies to show proof of the number of Ambazonians that are employed in senior executive positions. We will alter the economic philosophy of those who do business in our country. Our struggle for independence is not simply decolonization and removing Cameroun from our land. It is a gradual takeover of Amazonia, self-government through private and public institutions. We have been able to defeat completely their educational system that was grounded in deceit, in creating liabilities, in making Ambazonians useless, in propagating a philosophy that was detrimental to our own very existence. We might not have gone far, but for the first time since 1961, we are running thousands of schools that use our curriculum of education. You have been made to believe that the test of knowledge is in the certificates. And so you've been made to believe unless we show proof of certification, which is the colonial mentality, we do not have a right to take ownership. We have shown you that we needed not to show proof of any ability to run defense to be able to establish an army. We showed you clearly that we needed not provide an alternative to ban CEMAC number plate. Decolonization is your ability to accept your own socio-economic and political philosophy in the midst of chaos and gradually nurture it to grow and replace a system which you use the military and other economic strategies to remove. If you fail to believe in yourselves, if you fail to own your own factors of production, you will rely on the enemy until you are defeated again. You have to believe in yourself. In the past 7 years, without bilateral agreements, without asking the IMF, the World Bank, the European Economic Fund, the African Development Banks for loans, we Ambazonians, without even creating PTAs, have established community schools. We have shown you that students are able to go to this school. We have now established an online education system that can teach you everything you need. And you can see wherever you are and find a job wherever you are. You can be able to use the knowledge you acquire through our online education to be a productive individual within the Ambazonian community. The deceit and the manipulation, the intoxication that being a farmer, being a mechanic, being a hairdresser was a denigration is a fallacy which we must defeat. If we need to be free, we need to humanize, to dignify work, and to salute the bravery of our Bayam Selam, our mama and papa, who plow the fields and plant in Jamanjama and sell it to have given us the education to place us where we are today. The enemy has made us to believe what we do is not satisfactory. What we do is not enough. What we do is undignifying. The names we have, the names of our villages, our own culture, our own food, they made us not to believe in ourselves. Our struggle for freedom is not only simply to take over a piece of land, it's to turn to its head this socio-economic and political abuse that we have been subjected to and made us a dependency to ourselves, a laughing stock to ourselves, even though we took the path of exile, came out here and saw their inadequacies and realized the plumber was the hero here. The electrical engineer was the hero here. The beauty creator in the salon was the hero here. This is the struggle to restore dignity to the Ambazonian people. And that is why self-government is critical. La Republique imposed quarterheads, they imposed chiefs through whom they could take over our land, block by block, with our own participation without us knowing. And to disentangle it seems like we are fighting amongst ourselves because we find ourselves unraveling the fabric of colonialism that had churned into the fabric of our society, where your mother is a colonialist, your neighbor is a colonialist, the quarterhead is a colonialist, the chief is a colonialist. And when you rise up against all of this system of extortion and deprivation, you portray yourself as though you're fighting against yourself. My people, it's going to be a difficult fight, but I want you to be prepared. I want you to achieve mental liberation so you can walk on the street even here in Europe with your boxer and sing hail, hail, hail and be proud of yourself. Freedom is the most tangible gift that we can ever have. To think freely, to be mentally liberated. You find yourself even in poverty being a happy person. Our fight is far bigger than taking over a piece of land. My fellow people, you own Ambazonia. You shall design the socio-economic and political system to respond to our own reality, and you shall make it. I can assure you, I told you people a few months ago that Singapore, that got palm from West Africa, makes $12 billion a year in palm and its derivatives. $12 billion, far bigger than the budget of La République du Cameroun. I am telling you, you do not understand the benefit of energy. I went to school in Gembo where there were days you had to burn eucalyptus tree to have light to read. Every industry is going to be powered by the energy we can generate. I told you, all the grids in La République that generate power for La République is less than half the amount that can be generated from Yoke. We are not going to power every home in Ambazonia. We are going to make sure it is free of charge. And the excess that we have, we are going to export it. And if that is not enough, the amount of sunlight we have should make every household have a panel up to light the house, make our mothers and our fathers and our brothers to live in dignity, not to be born in servitude, grow up in servitude, die in servitude, in a land boundless with opportunities. We are not simply fighting for an abstract freedom. It's tangible. You are not going to replicate, to duplicate the systems of deprivation and curtailment that you've been used to. If you are in Momo, the House of Assembly will be called Inep, and you will come to embrace it. The House of the People. It shall be in a language you understand. It will be difficult to be overthrown. It will be difficult to be replaced by foreign systems wrapped around economic philosophies to extract resources and replicate with death and destruction. If you've never known why you fight for things far bigger than the notion of independence. You fight for things so important that people are willing to sell an entire neighborhood to cross the Mediterranean and the Atlantic in search of it. It's right in our backyard in Ambazonia. With a little bit of more effort, we will be there. But it will not be heralded. You will not get up one morning and this freedom is coming up from the sky like manna. No, it will be block by block, issue by issue, from education to the legal system, to the number plates, to the language that we speak, to the number of Ambazonians in every external parastatal that is in Ambazonia. Because only then can we generate the amount of wealth that we can reinvest in our society to create opportunities, to be respected, to create the political and economic environment for foreign investment. You will not wait until full freedom to be able to put an educational system that benefits you. You will not wait until every inch of Ambazonia is liberated to begin to practice the system of self-governance that you dream of. It will begin right away. One good morning, you will get up and Ambazonia has changed. It will look so strange to La République, and it must have happened because of the policies we put in place at this particular moment. On the 16th of May, brave Ambazonians in the great state of Manu handed down special status to the barbarians of our land. And I want to thank our forces in Manu, who have been resilient in the face of death, in the face of infiltration by the enemies, using elites, proxies, who have no shame. On the 17th of May, Ambazonian forces in Ngokitungia handed down special status to 3 enemy forces. The enemy responded as usual with the burning down of homes, causing mayhem and destruction. Ambazonian power prevailed. The anarchy of the enemy was in full display, and I want to thank the bravery of our forces in the great state of Ngokitungia. On the 18th of May, in the state of Mezam, our forces in Akum engaged in a broad daylight raid around our border, and they handed down special status to 1 enemy combatant, critically wounding so many, and they are now in hospitals across Bamenda. On the 19th of May, Ambazonian forces in Fako also demonstrated bravery with enforcing the lockdown we had called on the 19th and on the 20th. On the 20th of May, in Mezam, along the Bafut axis, our forces sent to hell a couple of colonial forces, ensuring that the enemies that were assembled to celebrate the day of shame all ran away. Still in Mezam on the 20th of May, our forces in our wing also took out the brigade commander of the brigade there. In Boyo, along the Belo axis on the 20th of May, we made it absolutely clear all those who enable, accommodate colonialism or colonial apologists, whether they are imposters in political positions, that one day we're going to deal with you. The mayor, colonial mayor, his inspector, and 2 other colonial agents were removed from the battlefield. In the great state of Momo, our forces in Widikum made it absolutely clear there will be no celebration of a day of shame in our country. And they were able to demonstrate strength and make sure that they disperse the enemies. In Bui, our forces along Jakiri patrol our street with strength, and other units were able to use POPs to be able to disperse the enemy. Prior to 20th of May, the enemy announced that this 20th of May will show that there has been a return to normalcy. They said hundreds of thousands of people will be able to come out to celebrate a day that Ambazonians' annexation was cemented. They proclaim with arrogance that every Ambazonian will come out to celebrate thuggery, daylight, robbery, and assassination. You, the Ambazonian people, rejected them. You, the Ambazonian people, took charge. And I ask you to take custody of your destiny, to take custody of the destiny of your children, the dreams and hopes and aspirations of 9 million of all of us. Take custody of it. As I said, armed resistance is only a method. Going forward, we must bring back the spirit of diaspora nationalism. And I am asking all Ambazonians in the diaspora to begin to plan for activities on the 1st of October. It should be a massive show of force in the diaspora to give back hope to the Ambazonian people that they are not left alone. This struggle is not only for our forces, it's for the Ambazonian people, all of us. Those in jail in the IDPs, as IDPs in refugee camps. From today, we must begin the preparation, massive participation across the diaspora in the homeland in celebration of our Day of Independence. We will do this to show those who are in jail that this is serious business. We'll do this to show our IDPs and refugees that we own Amazonia. We'll do this to give hope to those in the diaspora that will be coming back home soon. And we'll do this to show the families of those who lost their lives that their children didn't die in vain. My fellow people, we are at a war. After every victory, the enemy wants blood so that it can control the narrative, so that you can stop talking about your victory and start talking about your pain. I ask all of you, whatever you think about, wherever you may be, to think Ambazonia and commit and dedicate and make sure you become the primary investors in your own liberation as to be the primary owners of your own destiny. On Saturday, we have a fundraiser. I said and I promise we will do this every month until the last troop of La Republique leaves the land. On Saturday, we meet again. I call on all AGovC missions, all members of that mission to continuously commit. I call on all Ambazonians who are not members of the AGovC to continuously commit so that we can continuously invest in the resistance, support our forces, support sovereignty projects, and gradually give self-governance to the Ambazonian people. God bless you all. Thank you very much, and God bless Ambazonia.
Racho Ayaba is in studio with me, frontline leader of the Ambazonian Governing Council. Dr. Ayaba, thanks for joining us. Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
When we talk about Ambazonia, what are we talking about?
We are talking about a country that gained independence on the 1st of October 1961 and was occupied by Cameroun thereafter, and has since used its domestic laws and acts of terror to maintain that occupation.
So you are an independent country, independent territory.
We were an independent territory until Cameroun encroached into our territory and occupied it.
So right now, as things stand, where is the government seat? Where do you pay your taxes? Where do you talk to us about the political, economic, social setup of Ambazonia and vis-a-vis Cameroun?
Before Cameroun invaded our country, we were self-governing, flourishing territory with our own government, our prime minister. We had a parliament, a house of chiefs, and we had a flourishing economy that could cater for the Ambazonian people. And once Cameroun moved in, the first thing it did was it dismantled our economic infrastructures, it dismantled our political system, and imposed its own system within our territory. Because we produce 60% of the GDP, that was one of the primary motivation for the encroachment and the occupation of our country. And taxes have since then been paid into the treasury of Cameroon, which it has used to build a large army that is using to terrorize our population and, basically abandon our own country into dilapidation.
Yeah. Is it the linguistic issue that is at heart here? Because I'm getting a sense that you Anglophone and the northern part of Cameroon is Francophone, and perhaps there might be ideological clash there.
It's a gross misconception.
Yeah.
It's not a linguistic issue. That's why people always see it as secession. Cameroon gained independence with its international border clearly demarcated on the 1st of January 1960. It gained admission into the United Nations in September the same year, and that did not include Ambazonia. Ambazonia was a self-governing territory. You can only secede from a country that you both gain independence on the same day, and that's why we look at other places that are fighting for self-governance, like the Biafra situation. They gain independence as an integral part of Nigeria. It is not also an Anglophone or Francophone issue. Those are kind of recalibrating our struggle in the mindset of the colonial period. It's an aspect of occupation. One country moving beyond its own internationally recognized border, installing a system of impunity in another country, and has since then governed us, as a colonized people.
For apartheid to fall here in South Africa, you had international support, for instance. How much and what kind of support, international support, do you have for your freedom, for your independence?
One of the reasons why apartheid fell, as you've rightly put it, is because as a student in primary school, we all supported the anti-apartheid struggle. We made handwork and sold them to contribute to the anti-apartheid struggle. We have borrowed from the playbook of the ANC, international mobilization, because we believe in a people-driven struggle. So our struggle is widely supported by peoples across the world. I know when we talk about a support for a people's struggle, we are looking from the state of a government.
Yeah.
No, apartheid fell because the people across the globe rose up against the system. It didn't fall because government supported the anti-apartheid struggle. And that's the same system we are using. I'm here in South Africa to remind the South Africans of the moral responsibility they have to other peoples that are fighting against oppression. Because we all stood up. While I was, I think, 9 years of age, we stood up against the system that was imposed here in South Africa. We also know that there are different governments. The U.S. Senate held a hearing on the Ambazonian issue. The British Parliament has made a statement about it. More than 150 German parliamentarians have requested the government to suspend economic support to Cameroon. The wild side is the utter silence of African states. The wild side is the utter silence of the African people. And I think it's high time we understand that, injustice anywhere in Africa affects different African people because it creates a movement of people across borders.
Have you taken your issue, or how is your issue being dealt with at the levels of regional and international bodies? I'm talking about ECOWAS, for instance, in West Africa. I'm talking about SADC here, south of Africa. I'm talking about the African Union, for instance, and other multinationals.
We've done a lot of work at both the regional and international level, not beginning 2 years ago. As far back as 20 years ago, we submitted petitions at the level of the United Nations. I have sent a representation to the African Union. We have presented our case at the African Union Security Council. We have made presentations at the level of ECOWAS. So we have done our homework in terms of targeted diplomacy to draw the attention of the international system that there is an ongoing genocide in Ambazonia, and there is an historical injustice that was committed because of the conspiracy between the United Nations, France, and the United Kingdom. And so they have an obligation to rewrite this wrong in order to stop, the genocide that is going on in our country.
0891-104-207 Ayaba, who is the frontline leader of the Ambazonian Governing Council. This country is pretty much in Cameroon, but the southern part. And Dr. Ayaba says that this is an independent territory. And I want to ask, how different is your story to that of the peoples of Palestine and Israel as well?
There is a great similarity because our case with respect to the Palestinian situation is that of occupation, violation of international borders, and using domestic law to commit crimes that amounts to crimes against humanity and to our own situation almost to the level of genocide. And so we are an occupied territory in the same way as the Palestinians are claiming that the violation of the 1967 border, has extended the border of Israel into Palestine. And so the same way the Palestinians are seeking independence with an internationally recognized border as demarcated by the international system is the same way we are asking Cameroon to withdraw to the border at which it gained independence, which were, demarcated as far back as 1916, confirmed in 1931, and reaffirmed in 1964. So occupation across the globe, they are all similar, and peoples under occupation face similar experiences of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and a high level of impunity that is sanctioned by domestic legislation.
All right, we'll take a couple of calls now on 0891. Good morning.
Yes, Brother Bongi.
Hi.
I'm looking at the time. We'll be approaching the news in a short while, but I just want to cut through the chase. Brother Bongi, I'm listening to the fire that is burning out of your guest today.
Yeah, Dr. Ayaba,
and I can tell you that is breathing fire because he is hurt. The pain that he's seeing all around him of his people, is just unimaginable. It is high time that South Africa, as one of the leading countries in this continent, assist all these other countries, particularly the problem in Cameroon. We know that the likes of Paul Biya have been on that presidential palace for very many years. Why? Because they are protected by the likes of France. And the reason why it is difficult, at least according to my thought, it is because they know that they are protected by France. Therefore, France makes it impossible for that to happen. So that they must continue benefiting from Cameroon as an intact country, and all other francophone countries. When that is unjust, then it must stop.
Thank you very much, Ezekiel in Bushbuck Ridge. And they reached a genocidal status right now, or is it the wording and rhetoric? You will say you'll put it as genocide, and government will put it as separatists who...
No.
Yeah.
I'm a student of history.
Yeah.
Genocide is not even about the number of people you kill. It's about the intent. And the intent of the Cameroon government is to occupy Ambazonia, and it wants to do that by physically eliminating the Ambazonian people. We have a situation where Cameroon colonial senior divisional officer asked citizens of 16 villages in the Manyo County to leave those villages and move across the border. That is an intent to take out the people. And so when we talk about genocide, we are not looking about numbers. Because when you look at Rwanda, you ask if 1 million people are dead. We're talking about the intent of the activities of Cameroon. And the intent is to physically eliminate Ambazonia so we can have access to our resources, we can have access to control our land. And we think genocide is ongoing, and the world has a moral responsibility. The South African people, I don't want to focus on governments. The world today is... I want to see it from a bottom-up perspective, where the people of different countries rise up and say, I am an Ambazonian, highlight the plight of the Ambazonian people, as we did for the South African people during the anti-apartheid struggle.
Yeah, I'm going to have to leave it at that. We've run out of time. But thank you very much to Dr. Cho Ayaba, frontline leader of the Ambazonian Governing Council. And the flag, it has a sky blue and white stripe flag stamped with a dove, and of course the national anthem there speaks of the heroes who bore the land with their blood.
Okay. Just a moment, people. Today we are going to cover a wide range of topics. Some are international in nature. Some are continental in nature, but most will focus on the Ambazonian liberation and its importance in the liberation of other peoples who are fighting for independence, especially within the continent of Africa. I want to greet my fellow Ambazonians on ground zero. I want to thank our citizens who are already in lockdown mode as we collectively stand in rejection of the 20th of May celebrations in Ambazonia. I also want to thank our prisoners of war for their sacrifices, for all they are going through in the name of Ambazonia. We are at a critical juncture in our campaign, in our struggle for freedom. We have achieved a lot through the combination of intelligence, strategies, and different domestic and international campaigns. I have described our strategy as the South African model. If you study the ANC model of liberation, it was focused on international awareness about the suffering of Black people in South Africa, the different laws of segregation, and the dehumanizing effect of the apartheid laws. They were engaged in a lot of international awareness campaign for the purpose of isolating the South African regime and ensuring that other countries boycott South Africa, name and shame it, all of which had an economic impact on South Africa. The ANC had a military wing and called the Umkhonto Wesizwe. But it realized that then South Africa was a nuclear power country. It had the support of the United States, Great Britain, and almost all of the most powerful countries in the world. It was well armed. It had the capability. It was also fueling an insurgency in Angola, and it made focus on armed resistance extremely very difficult. And the ANC had factored all of these realities in developing a strategy that ended up with a victory for the ANC. I am very certain that with the strategies we have put in place, it will end the nightmare that came into our land almost 65 years ago. When you look at what we are doing, and this communication is important for our people to have a sense of understanding of why we take the actions we take, the effect of these actions on the occupation of our homeland. And I think this will give us an opportunity to be more resilient and to be more patient. I think yesterday my account on Facebook was disabled. So for your information, I will not be returning on Facebook. And I ask everyone who wants to listen to me to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Twitter. But what I'm about to say is the essence of the strategies we put in place. A comrade wrote this morning, and he said, this war is on every front because the enemy is trying to knock us out on every front. Let's look at it this way. Ambazonians are not allowed to speak about Ambazonia in the homeland. Ambazonians cannot assemble. They don't have the freedom of assembly. They don't have the freedom of speech. They don't even have the freedom of conscience just to think about Ambazonia. We are aware of a pastor around Meme who was butchered in broad daylight for simply expressing his mind about where he stands. Teachers cannot talk about Ambazonia. They don't even have the right to teach about our history. It's criminal to publish anything about Ambazonia. You realize since the beginning of this struggle, no newspaper, no TV channel operating either in Ambazonia or in Cameroun would ever give me an interview for fear of reprisals. That's the reality. And also they have launched a ferocious campaign internationally to stop us communicating. They have the right to own TVs. They have the right to say whatever they want to say, manipulate communications in the way they want. Yet they are engaged internationally with criminal lawyers to make sure that Ambazonians who want to speak about our right to be free are criminalized. They have attacked individual Ambazonians. They have used their networks within social media platforms to prevent us from even communicating. And I now understand why the comrade said this is a war on all fronts. I responded to him and I said, we are no Chamberlains. We are a generation of the Churchills. And that we will fight them on social media. We will fight them on the ground. We will fight them in every arena. That's how the ANC won. And that's why we've brought Cameroun on its knees, not only in Ambazonia, but internationally. And take note, Cameroun has prevailed historically because it has had the monopoly of communication, of the truth, and it has had the monopoly of authoring international perceptions about what is happening in our land. We have denied them that monopoly. We have been engaged internationally about our struggle, the justness of our cause. And I'll talk about this because to reduce the Ambazonian struggle for freedom to simply a struggle for independence is negating not only the facts of history, but also the facts of law and the right of our people to self-preservation. And so I'll talk about this to debunk the argument by regime apologists and colonial apologists that our struggle for freedom is simply about the creation of an uncertainty in the name of a new state. No, it's not simply about the creation of a supposed new state, but it's about the right of our people to self-preservation within a space and under a government that is dedicated, to their own well-being. And so we have been able, in equal measure, to speak to the international community, to communicate our views, to articulate our positions, and to talk about the rationale of the existence of our country and its benefit, not only for regional security, but for international peace, security, and development. Because what the international community is dealing with is a pariah state that is highly indebted, that's criminal in nature, a state run by individuals who've looted the treasury, dismantled essential infrastructures and institutions that can safeguard life, dignity, and other essential ingredients of the survival of a people. That's what they are dealing with. They are dealing with a cartel. And what is the alternative? The alternative is Ambazonia. What we cannot accept is that this cartel and its activities go unchallenged. So we have been able to successfully articulate our own position, the justness of our cause, the rationale of our resistance. I hear people say our people are suffering, and it would be wrong not to admit that our people are suffering. But why are they suffering? Are people suffering because of the last 7 years of armed resistance? Or are people suffering because of the last 60 years of occupation, extortion, violence, and economic decay? Where are people enjoying before the armed resistance? Did we have better schools? Did we have a better health system? Did we have a better legal system? No. Yes, our people are suffering, but our people are not suffering because we are up in resistance. And we should not give up the resistance because our people are suffering, because it will not end the suffering. The South Africans resisted the apartheid system for more than 50 years. Do we think if they simply just acquiesce to the white supremacist rule, their lot would have been better? Do we think if the Eritreans simply gave up and allowed Ethiopia to occupy their land, they would have been better off? Eritrea fought for close to 23 years. I said in one of my outings, at one stage in the resistance in East Timor, when their leader had been captured, the East Timorese had been defeated, the resistance crumbled, and the remnants of the resistance, including, the scattered population, had migrated into the jungles. Do we think if the East Timorese simply said, well, we will rather have peace under Indonesian occupation, and so we will give up our right to our homeland to be free and simply submit ourselves as slaves to an external actor whose presence serves only its interests? These are questions that Ambazonians need to ask and answer. And I have given basic parallels in our own lives. Our own individual lives is fraught with difficulties. We don't give up because it's tough. A woman, your mom does not carry you in her womb for 9 months, understanding the difficulties, and simply at the 7th month, when it becomes more difficult, and she says, "Well, I'm gonna have abortion," because of course, having the abortion will give you a period of reprieve. Is that what we will do? Our people are suffering because of the presence of an illegal country in the territory of Ambazonia. They are suffering because that country's presence in Ambazonia does not serve Ambazonia's interests. It does not loot our resources and replicate in building better schools. It does not make investment in the production and marketing of alcohol and amassing profits of almost 200 million amber and investing 50 million back in communities, in building schools, recreation areas for our children to play, and helping in setting up health centers for our people. That the MTN does not make $45 billion in profit as it did in 2023 and makes an investment of 20 billion back in Ambazonia that creates opportunities in employment, creation of wealth for the benefit of the Ambazonian people. They don't do these things because the structure of the occupation is such that they see our land as a plantation that should be looted. If we do not change that calculus, for the next 200 years, nothing will happen. We will get up one morning, the roads that we had in 1961 will become waterways. We will get up one morning, the institutions that we had more than 25 years ago will become detention centers. For 60 years, every attempt are altering this calculus of Cameroonians, and the Cameroon regime has been rebuffed. They don't call us Le Bamenda for nothing. And I will talk about this also in India when I talk about the question of genocide, which I will go into more detail in subsequent discussions. Because when we talk about genocide, most of you are looking at numbers, how many people have been killed. No, we look at intent. What is the intent of the perpetrators? And that those were key concepts examined in the case between South Africa and Israel in the ICJ case, and even in the case between Serbia and Kosovo, and in cases that have been adjudicated concerning especially the Rwandan genocide. So they call us Le Bamenda for a good reason. They call us 2 cubes of sugar, because these people cannot understand how their slaves suddenly gets up one morning and they say they're talking about freedom. And that's why they are mad. That's why they are burning our villages, burning our cities, burning our homes, because they cannot understand how these Le Biafran, how these Les Anglo, how these Le Noso, Le Bamenda just get up one morning and they're asking for what are they asking for? What are they asking for? That's why they are mad, and they are killing our people. They kill soldiers and then they carry their bodies to the square. They will teach you who we are and they will tell you where you belong. So you have to understand these barbarians and why they do the things they do. And I'll also talk about the guy who has started giving interviews, General Buba. You have young boys in Burkina Faso, Niger, and other places rising up, taking over power, safeguarding the interests of their people from external imperial rule. You have some barbarians, old barbarians running in the bushes of Ambazonia, killing, raping, and feeling empowered. We will squeeze them. I will have this conversation. This discussion is also to make you to understand that you are powerful, and they fear you. They fear you, and you should not give up because it's difficult. Nothing is ever going to be easy. So for 60 years, and I'll talk about key events, and because today is the 18th of May, and on Monday is the 20th of May, I'll talk about it. And this is important because, as I said, you cannot understand why an Ambazonian pastor in Mator cannot express his desire for Ambazonia. He's immediately killed. But these barbarians think, oh, well, on the 20th of May, they should rally people on the street, to raise Cameroun flag. That the individual Ambazonian cannot raise their own flag as a symbol of their nationalism. The flag is not a rifle. That is, the Ambazonian cannot have in their phones their flag or have names of people standing for them. They check their phones to see if you have the name Ayaba inside, or if you've been communicating in chat groups. And if you have, you are detained for simply communicating about a desire to be free. It is not a desire to enslave Cameroonians. It's not a desire to remove Paul Biya from his position. It's just a desire about your own nationalism, about your own desire to be free. They don't want you to talk. They don't want you to assemble. They don't want you to communicate. Yet, they want thousands of people to march on our street celebrating a day of cowardice. And they will invest millions and millions of dollars to make sure that happens. So they can show that they are in charge. So they can show that Cameroon is one and divisible. Did I say divisible? Because that's the reality, right? So this is the fallacy, this is the fantasy of a collapsed system, of a mentally deranged people. They get up every morning, they have the fantasy that the guys of Le Bamenda, Le Amba, Le Zanglo are some toys that they can remote control. And if we dare not toe the line, and then they send their barbarians on our streets, they kill our forces, carry their bodies, they go and expose in the middle of the street, and that is triumphalism. That is big Cameroon. That is civilization of the 21st century. I am amazed how somebody can contemplate that us, Ambazonia, should submit itself to this level of barbarism. To a people we have fed all through our existence. We aren't stupid. We may not be powerful, but we aren't weak either. We cannot contribute 60% of the GDP of the budget of the barbarians and receive bullets, graveyards, cemeteries, death, and destruction in return. And then we should be singing Dimabola and clapping for them. Quick for land, Vonumon. And I don't want us to look at this issue as an issue of we are maybe fighting for independence. No, just look at basic reality about our existence, the misery that has been imposed in our land, the uncertainty, the calamity, and the disgrace that we go through on a daily basis because of some adventurers who possibly got confused and never knew where their borders ended. So this struggle is not simply a struggle for the Ambazonian people and the right of the Ambazonian people to be free and to exercise, their right within their own space to have a better life. This is a struggle for the people of the continent. And that's why our alliance with Biafra is essential. My fellow Ambazonians, let me go back into talking about the deprivations that we continue to go through. That Ambazonians cannot assemble, that Ambazonians cannot freely speak. And that the greatest advocates for these deprivations are co-opted Ambazonians who work for the system. And that the greatest advocates for the dehumanization of Ambazonians are Ambazonians themselves. You see, even some of you listening to me, you have a weak spirit. And that's not a crime. So it's important to recognize that you are human, and the difficulties of life will make you question certain facts of your existence. The struggle for freedom is hard. Jesus died at 33, right? Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Patrice Lumumba, I don't think any of them ever made it to 40. Mandela was damn lucky. He was taken into custody. I told you guys a story. I was driving through Biafra land once. I think I left Ecom and I was going to Calabar. And there was this argument on the bus. And I was talking about freedom. And there was one guy just looking at me and like, what the hell is this guy talking about? And when we reached a cemetery, he tapped me. He said, look, you know what that is? I said, yes. He said, that's where people who talk like you end up. And everybody was laughing. It's difficult. It's difficult to overcome injustice. It's difficult to overcome impunity. It's difficult to overcome tyranny. Even countries that are advanced in democracy, in the rule of law, in the protection of rights, still face challenges. You still find in the United States, the justice system doesn't cut through for everyone. Black people are still struggling to find their way through the system. There is discrimination everywhere. Difficulties in countries are blamed on immigrants. And so people always look for scapegoats to explain why they cannot make progress. So I'm not here to make you think, the journey we are making is a walk in the park. We may not make it ourselves. I've said it several times. But what we cannot do is to be born in slavery, consciously live in slavery, and consciously die in slavery. That is unacceptable in the trajectory of the journey of human life. I said once, the book of life is 3 chapters. If the first chapter is written for us, because the chapter at birth, and the last chapter is written for us because the chapter at death, chapter 2 must be written by us. That's the chapter of life. Simply existing is not an option. Simply living is not an option. You weren't born to be a slave. And so it is our responsibility, all of us, to rise up to oppose systems of deprivation, systems of death, whose sole existence is to ensure that we are constantly in want and that we have no right, no freedoms, and no opportunities. And so our struggle in Ambazonia is not about the creation of a state. We are a people living within a territory, and every people living within a territory with an international border, a system of governance, is a state. And it's unacceptable, both in terms of treaty law, customary law, and simply morality, for another state to simply marshal its forces into your own, take it over, and turn you into their slaves. Our struggle has taken a pivotal turn. When we watch what is going on in our land and in Cameroun, we can breathe a sigh of relief. Because for the first time, and this is critical, on the 20th of May, let me take you back 10 years. I will be very fast with this. I'm coming to a point where you should understand what you have achieved, how you have rewritten your own history, and how you've put your arrogant occupier in shame. But most importantly, your resistance and consciousness has generated a conversation within the ranks and files of the occupier state. That is a good thing. Because first, they were in denial of our existence, and then they moved to the next level. I'll talk about this also in their strategy of collapsing resistance. I'll talk about this. This is important. As a flashback in history, these United Nations, United Kingdom, United States, and others sat by and watched international law thwarted. When on February 11, they imposed a referendum or a plebiscite on us to vote to either integrate into Nigeria or to become, to establish a federation with Cameroun that had already gotten independence on the 1st of January. After that plebiscite, the United Nations on the 15th of April, 1961, no, on the 21st of April, sorry, they passed a resolution that required, a kind of a conference to discuss the terms of the federation. Cameroun has never been interested in exercising good faith, and this is also a subject for another time. International law, even domestic law, exists, only survives when people act in good faith. You cannot police the law. Laws only survive because actors act in good faith. They respect it, they obey it, and then it becomes part of a normative framework within society. Cameroun has not been an actor that has ever acted in good faith. It believes in manipulation, it believes in deceit, it believes in propaganda, and it believes in violence. That is the nature of the French Empire. So Cameroun failed woefully to have a proper conversation on the form and the kind of constitutional arrangement that should bind Ambazonia with Cameroun, and to make sure that each House of Assembly was going to debate and adopt any draft proposal that both parties will agree to. Cameroun used the strategies that tyrants used in the 60s to eliminate pluralism. Oh no, you know, we are black people. We should not get these white people to be part of what we're doing. Why France was helping Cameroon in these discussions. They imposed a federation on Ambazonia. Then on the 20th of May, 1972, they dismantled that federation and set up a unitary state. The federal flag had 2 stars, each star representing the interests of each state. In 1972, they eliminated 1 star and the left